Good morning, and today we are going to do a class slightly different. As we informed you, we will stop our regular teaching at 11:30, and then our Venerable Sangha will do the 16 Arhat long life prayer for Geshe and His Holiness long life prayer, and anything else they decided to do, which I can't predict. And then after that, we'll do our regular Manjushri prayer dedication. And then we will celebrate Geshe's birthday. Yeah. Just want to remind all of ourselves to cultivate the highest form of motivation. We call it bodhicitta motivation, seeking complete enlightenment for the benefit of all kind mother sentient beings. And with that kind of motivation, we should participate in this Lamrim discourse on the stage of the path to enlightenment by Manjushri Lama Tsongkhapa. To give you the blessing of Lamrim oral transmission, allow me to read about page 2 from this Lamrim text, volume number 2, in the English translation of Lamrim Chemo, page 197, followed by explanation.
7月底了，这里还那现在就开的大年说呢。那么新闻的话是星期早到了，碰里他话有人几个写了，下来外写呢，去不为到电话了，我去电话了，老婆也没了。这去不了，那我起码偏这个对不对？我们他没问人说啷个吧，也啷个吧一样sam。然后做嘛，现在因为北京啊，年纪没家的人不愿去这我们那边也让做把些人，也让做把些人没有啊，做把些没有。没有我上街。当城市生活的个家吧们呢，生活我们的个我几十年我们都是生活经过跑的全面的电脑我几百地方结果吧，我就做街那边全部也讲啊，头发个这地方是那边全部也东方那里剩下些少，他们也把主不我东西旁边些那个看不上去用那个结婚对吧呢？开发体位内应的到那个东亚方面就是那我看什么现在些根据些说天的牛木了，其实现在用不上对比，牛病啊这些大致那些在把那么太东我们这个前面，熊了我们这个看我家没得单那么新了把这我讲呢，让这边是把这火锅我等下先接让的小我们那去。每天早上给我牛三娘的顶车他头里面这边这样牛把牛毛怕了兄弟，第做了那样就我们那个这边老店爸爸接近他们家把个说到了你们，什么了礼拜到那个看我瞧我一他们这我等下了他的现在就老店爸爸忙一些跑去讲话笑。这也到家吧，他对吧？这我们到家呢，没别到家，他把这不没别到，都没别到家，没别到。这种猪嘛，这边这些这些面都必须得别到什么我去都不中那么通不着就别这样，这些的时候怎么就别这样啊？来的超级吧，没得别，明个别上班的个月到一别的这我明个别去现在我去这边呢。这么点对吧？这么点对吧？也瞧我别来行业来的让你现在，来的某个我这些说不得这些不能这么来了，我们没有就把当这。我接受别把我对我这边的没我把现对地区联系讲啊，没我们的我的，他们那么这边的话，他们到特种啥话老样，别的人就那来看看见了这边的我讲的，我老没是没有写的。这个同志来接讲，等就是民就是对面接看给来人得叫啊，得来没去现在得写说，就真接讲，就真的讲我不是没来的不知说的啥位，政治不知说着叫政治对我那就没我那。那没得了，写我也说那么的，说那么接到没有过，写说吧，但是我有时就是样也讲，当介绍别不知能不说，说了下边当地等着我车的中学也讲，这些的东西差不小吧，对不？对不？有的一点我接吧了，我把没那弄，看那么多没别车的有几百的话，他也把对不？ 所以大家所以这的做制度，我把这是我们都上了。明白什么叫的那看了这边给了，那么用是做吧，现在就是提到了就把那你们没对没，浪些你们前几位推说。一定没别的这把大不老嘛，就把这个张家这边天天连擦着心起来，天天连着真起来，你们些这个东北也冷清，冷清错着冷清，错就在这里的，那样就把线索他也到你们专注上边律师做那么这些这边我说的。他们那现在叫顺便去准备跑去准备去说，你说嘛答应？总之这些俺们里边的他这说那么的这些说没出去没少我空嘛，先就少先了少总之这吧。咱们国的叫大本家吧，咱们东用把的接着呢，垃圾桶这个他把叫来不着现在什么他妈什么这边这帮是，现在我什么这边开车的用的，俺们这个出去现在前不是空嘛，忙不他吧，老把给个项目。也现在那个总之怎么录的，好像对的，好像对人的做这不的，好像是吧？你个帮那个去过这些，去过这的拿着去个的，变得么个这边去把这跑或者不么个这边去把一完了去了，汤绿个么凶。天天这把那都中国人吧，也么这些说报道一些呢，讲什么这边的，什么这边人的，对不？苗上边人的当不说的呢，下把么也么了不的，的提醒的说的说，的与人呢与生呢结果。被那么些个说的呢，说的呢，我们当先被牛的心，被那些个说的呢，当先被说的基本特别穷心，那个嘛些吧都不些送说的那总之应该人送你们人不等的。娘妈咪你们不觉得，娘妈咪不觉得，娘妈咪嘛这边尊敬，没把的修行，没到比就等吧，当老年人就把那，要出去吧，面对把这各位到不接就退，到不接总了开吧那，总之了，从这浪别到不接个吧得先把桥。他群众的电视看见总主怎样？他总主现在总路线的了呀，因为总主总有的呀，开始啥，代表到的，因为开始没表到代表到，岗位到噻就送不去多，我在这个，我的到送的写我是吧？开始啥，这了他就是写啥么子？开始啥？也说他们这一直没送去吧，到时候。没问题，他没办法噻，结果你这样找到的，那名字我们说写，刚那个连着连，刚那个连着不有的，我们就说，所以我们写的，特别特别点写吧，送给一些这个年纪是帮我让这个人这边写，这样连着一节的切我的身体这个能就培养到。这个那边你们用的什么年的，搞的写说， 디 휴자이 저래베
no shuzam
디 형대 저래베
and nga je somde marwe gen
ngaje dewa
laundi nyube nga je de sabe su cherwa gen samajani nyomo be nga je di
nyumu be ngaje 저래베 다 땜베 또 딘도 사이베 다시나
nyube nga je de ma suna ne
라
nyube nga je de ne ma pene di gusel gen
알레나스 nyube ngaje dewa nyumu be ngaje 세야디 따데르베
lore nyube nga je de shen di ta
nyube ngaje 세야디 디시다 지브로 당장 모두 와도 거기 껴와 현도 양 뒤주든지 라바 방발로 소 도에 세대를 닉바 페와다 껴와 현도 뒤 리브 등에 페와 너마디 성화 삼비 겨와시 문도 바다 너마텔레 로 아베 뒤 리브 멤버당 너마니장 타르마제바 조바 민지 셰드스다 거제 데레 다다 데레도 와카사 디데인사레 카사 템베도 세야 디르와
lao
근데 템베도 디신 다틱 좀바셰 알리 삼보에 빼는 데시고로 왔다 인중 삼바리고 다틱 용삼마레서 인제 주고 바이나
no
에네 디게야 이네 인중 삼바 마제시 인제 마제시 에네 컨슈머도 도도레시 어제데 제제다 이네 디 카르사 당보 잠바데다 체우레시 제데르와 어디미라 다디 마시나 디 예메디 헤거와
no
어디 다 마시는 가르에서는 도알 겁나 껴왔다 진짜 탐자 너네 샹네 좀 가르에서는 디 유든 길라바케라면서 도에 세데데 디바페와던 세 유든 이르세다 남이 이르세다 당대사 이르시던 송송 시고와 제가 유든 이르베텔라 야니 다디 그래서 예 용어지 제바 유든세야 되어 임베도 용어지 되어야 됩니다. 라바케라면서 도에 세데 디바페와시 겨와신디 디부 등에 페와다 나마디 숑이 삼비 겨와시면서 나마디 청아 사비 에니 겨와시면서 바다 어디레베 겨와시 나마디 로스 로빈 주분 멤버 나마니장 타르메지바 타르마시바 도바 문조비 셰드스다 디드셔다 건제 독신 에네 찍콩모주시네 에네 찍을때 창보이나 에네 인가 뭐저 건지 좀도 주레스 셰디인자 인지면지 당보자마 된다 그래서 에네 그게 걸 그게다 건좀 때는 좀 하기 봐도 어텔 쇼자고 그래서 다들 대대다 지단들에 가서 냠냠을 지네 응원의 장상 로선 디마싱에 계자라 와다 먼저도 땡다 뭐가 이지 뭐 이거 냠냠 지니다 그 요바라 근데 냠냠이 딩겐도 이나 이네 어디 뒤에 좀 셈보여야 돼스 어디 다 건지 저 때문에 또 제가 어디 유전으로 되시 저도 너는 강차와 이듬 제바 대양 고면서 뭐 현주배 양 예수주 조신 유든지 돈배 유든지 돈바 계랑배 탐자양 메데바오스 어디에 저다 너는 뒤쪽 가려서나 강샤와 일 탐자와 대양 고면서 담보 사야 된 고면도 필요와 다시 담보 사야 된 인중 삼바를 주신 것이 다때 뭐도 가는 영 되는 인제로 가지고 어디 인제 누구 말이지 다 니가 기억이 쉬니 거기 인제 여부 제발 인중 삼바가 뇨마도 인제야 요마로와 어디서다 이네 뒤 인제 베게 가서 인중 삼바 이네 뇨마도 그 인제 보가시나 이네 니가 기억이 그래스 돈바케 탐자야 메덴바고 돈바케라 마세 다디 이제 돈바간도 세단다 베게 메게지분서 특허사 니주데 베스름세야디 도마티케제디 지다 켈란텔 쓰거들와 근데 소도 켈란테 보면 샤로 스타디 켈랑 받자게 지겨라다 등자 때는 자가들이 메카지 가래 라나 디그스 더다데 두셔요 뭐지 가래 디그스 지 도와 어디 대시되게 따때야 봐 다카지게 넘버에 카고로 그버티 연구 말이 기본적인 신이 진행되게 이네 지켈랑서는 누야지어라 봐 我听了一下子，现在他的讲话听得看到那一下子，现在看了嘛，我就录下去也没有差多的事。我听了我嘞，我听了。
Geshe read from page 197, volume number 2 in English translation, Labrin Chemo, to page 202. That was to give us the Lamrim oral transmission. And so now he started to give explanation. And so we are back to page 196, where the sub-point caption reads, developing the power of steadfastness. So as Geshe explained that we have been discussing how to cultivate a joyous perseverance or jundu, enthusiastic perseverance, and there are many ways to do that. So in this context, we talked about the power of aspiration and the power of firmness or steadfastness in what we decides to do, and so on. And as Geshe explained, that in the beginning, it's very important for us to take time and examine whether we feel we can do this, whatever this is, practice or not. So once we decide to do it, then we should stick to it, right? We should take it to the fruition or complete it, Don't get into the habit of studying here, there, and not getting anything done, right? And the example which Geshe gave last time, which he again did today, is say, first we thought, okay, I want to cultivate aversion to misery in samsara. We call it renunciation or ngenjung, right? And then we kind of started it off and we do a little bit, and then say, you know what? Yeah, I want to do great compassion. That sounds, better somehow, right? So we go to the great compassion, right? So, and then if we keep on changing our mind every now and then and keep on switching from one practice to the next, it really becomes very detrimental. That not, we will neither develop renunciation, nor great compassion, or nor X, Y, Z, whatever is all other things, And so it's not only detrimental here and now in this life, but it will also have impact on our future life and practice. And we might get into the habit of, kind of starting and not doing it, and then, changing our heart every now and then. And so this Geshe explained in terms of the law of karma, where we often talk about how the karma can produce different kinds of outcomes. One is the ripening outcome, or the minjajile, the main effect of the karma, my first footnote. And then one is the environmental effect of a karma. The other is the effect or outcomes corresponding to the past habituated action and experiences. So this is where it is relevant that if we keep on, starting something, then dropping the ball half the way, and then doing something else, this can become a bad habit, and so it can have a negative impact on our future life and practice. And so the lesson here is that whatever we decide to do, take your time in the beginning, and then stick to it. Okay, of course, Geshe is giggling over that. He's, of course, this is really from a practice point of view. Those who have done the practice, who have the experience in, not like us, who are just talking about it more, or like, we wish to, like, how nice if I can. So we are the aspirational practitioners, like, I can, I like, But those who really do it, right, and this is what it is, start wherever it needs to be started, get it done, move to the next level, right? Don't start here, there, and, keep on switching to any other practice, because that will have a detrimental effect on us. And so another example comes to Geshe's mind about how we change our heart every now and then, or really we don't mean it so much when we say yes, kind of commitment. It's like in India, Indians are very habit of saying, if you ask them to do something, acha, acha, yes, I will do it. But really, most of the acha means, yes means, is really no. Really, they're not going to do it. So that's not the kind of commitment we want to make. Those who really take it seriously, maybe in the beginning they sometimes say the hard thing, like, no, I can't do it. I'm sorry. But once they agree, to help you, whatever commitment they make, then they mean it. They're going to do it. So we have to learn that way, that be serious about our commitment. And once we make commitment, we should keep it. So our commitments can include all kinds of things we already promised to do, as basic as abiding by the ethics of abandoning 10 negativities of body, speech, and mind. Okay. Or we call the ethics of refraining from negativities and negative actions. So whatever commitments we have made, we should stick to that and follow our commitment. No.
다당한테 라른 해다세 융지세야 되와 라메자 치 똑바도 곰제 라마 누구듯이 엔가마 니마마도 보도 곰네 인티에토서네 주마 디주마디냐 계셔서 어디 계셔와 디네 더간도 다다디 발자샤서면데 니와도야 피지 다 갖고 이제 다 동계 여디 유시기리티 셰다 간도야 남지한테 비게 대저 동시에 방시마 상주세의 동이 강가 상로 샤금지야죠. 어디에 속 말서가 말다야. 뭔가 뜻이는 되고라. 어디 더스데 저기 샤니 지금 지야도 지금 방시마고 더스 말와. 진짜 어디 나시래. 대나시세 에네 배도 추어접지 나 휴나 라이드 가라 가지 추신게 유지를 폐게지 작업을 뒤에 작업을 해서 저기야 뭐에 베세. 다 당시에는 담보를 지고라 왔다. 당보 따지시는 오늘 시어 가라가를 따시다 수차가도 뒤길 지금 담는 시기로 와. 다 때도 키도 다 들어가나 가상한서 다다 제여와 인주 참마시네 그래서 해야 되는 근데 먹으기 삼바서서 저러 봐. 그래서 먹을 삼바서 딱 먼저 소도 좋잖아. 다들 제르 라브리디 시야시 수수문에 고 잡에다 이 상여도 자자 타줘도 그러. 그래서 대 현대시는 비슷하게 시다라 갖고 그래. 신은 짜는만 세대 요마다 수 그게로 와. 어디 기다로 찍을 니네 야가디 간도 기단 직된 샤와이나 뜨지기라. 찍이 난 내가 찍을 통들을 파줘야 통지 지부대하면 어디 내가 잡으면 장색으로 와. 그 진짜 소리지.
So Geshe explains that, of course, there are many different ways of giving Dharma teaching. Such as teaching Lamrim, and one of the ways is what we call Nyongti, experience-based, Lamrim teaching, right? So what is been just said here is more from that perspective, right? And in that kind of a perspective of the tradition, what happens is, our Lama would first explain like a certain part of the Lamrim, let's say from the beginning, right? And then let student, process it and cultivate it and do the practice, right? And then come back and check with the Lama, what kind of experience they have gained into that. So once the Lama confirms and validates, okay, now I think you got that level of experience, then we'll teach the next part, right? And move on. So that's one way of teaching Lamrim, which is called experience-based teaching or experiential teaching, right? Of course, we are not doing that here, in a sense that ours is more like explanatory teaching, right? Try to cover the whole ground so that we will develop kind of a little bit holistic understanding of the whole path and maybe leave the imprints on our mind more kind of thing, okay? And so I want you to know the different approaches to Lamrim teaching. So even if, you follow the experience-based teaching, right, you really start off wherever you need to start and gain the experience, move to the next. But it does not mean that you should not do what we've called the reflective meditation. You can still reflect on the whole entire structure of the path. Okay, it's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that, okay, I just have to do this. I can't think anything else hereafter. No, that's where you're doing in terms of practice and realization, but you still can do the comprehensive reflective meditation, and there's no contradictions there. So as Geshe explained, that even in our worldly terms, right, people who are very professional, they think about what project they want to start off, and they think about that process. They started, they want to finish the project, right? They're not going to start too many projects and don't finish anything else, because then people say that unprofessional, right? The same thing here in practice. From practice point of view, we have to complete that practice and then move to the next. But in terms of thinking and meditation, we can reflect on the complete teaching of the structure of the path. And also, Geshe said, where we talk about the habit of switching our mind and, kind of changing heart here and there, that may be also relevant in terms of, finding teachers or cultivating teachers, So we don't want to get in the habit of that, just going to every teaching, and then it's just like I go to this, and okay, now I kind of learned something, and then I'll move to that one. Well, that looks better, teacher, and I go that one, and then that looks better. And so we're everywhere and almost like nowhere at the same time. I'm not saying that you don't have the right to do that. Of course, everybody has the right to do that. But the right approach is, from the beginning, take your time. Don't cultivate anybody as your teacher yet, right? And investigate whether this person really deserves to be your teacher, qualified or not, right? And once you decide with that, then stick to that person, right? You're not going to follow everybody else, because that will again become a habit of listening to everyone and not getting anywhere. But if you really stick to one lamrim, let's say this Gyeltsen's lamrim, and we find a qualified teacher, we cultivate that, we examine and we agree with that. By practicing Gyeltsen's lamrim, we should be able to become Buddha, right? There's no other reason. You don't have to follow some other teaching to become a Buddha again, right? Or it could be some other teaching or teacher, for that matter, that might have the complete path. So Geshe wants to, share that with us.
Mambo there's that again any me the be to me Shagrava. The question of Jig that they are Dvumata for the shy. And young judge to the cover of Jig Tabin, people that don't just way. She said, don't say that thing on to Mizin Daya Yomarilla, Yomaris. There is all the compassion of Shishan. In June, sort of all the Lamation of the Joji in the town. In the day, they do the Gangesha Vallepa to do the care of Chagris. What this would do. So the Ganzo Tata Tigan world.
So as I explained earlier, that there are many approaches to Dharma teaching and lamrim: experience-based teaching, experiential teaching, or just kind of a elucidation, explanatory kind of a teaching. So we are following more of the later part, try to have the comprehensive sort of holistic understanding of the path, and whatever you could practice, but for the rest of the path, we try to leave a positive imprint on our mind, And that's also very important, as many of our lineage gurus tell us that this approach, the benefit is that it is like we are planting many different seeds in our mind, right? We are cultivating a lot of imprints on the path, and if we stick to that, and maybe as the time is right, and by the blessing of the gurus and the favorable conditions, so when there's a fruition, maybe many different fruits will grow together and we can enjoy them, right? So that's like planting many different seeds on our mind. Otherwise, it's like, if we, let's say we want to cultivate fruit and we say, what, I just like banana. I'm only going to plant banana. So you wait for the banana until the banana comes out, right? And that, it's like sometimes our life is too short, right? In terms of realization, the banana, before banana grows, you snapped out of this world, And so that didn't work. But at the same time, you grow apples, you grow bananas, you grow whatever you grow, cherry and things, right? Then maybe somewhere, sometimes they all like a fruition together, and you get to experience all of that. So that's also another benefit of, trying to get a comprehensive picture and understanding of the path, and trying to leave many rich imprints on our mind as well.
Yet see she got a Tebet, any Gamati, Yakumari, any Chimagum citizen, some of Tony made me send until quite of what you got. She the tip my race, and the Pazasha, shall be making Tora Marvaco, Mahma, she was a Torsi Marva. Come. Torsi puff you in Shabashan Torsi, Mother. Mahj Gomalan and you with Tom Marva. She the thing say she got the young, can you some out that young Bahaji, my penny 天说中间呢，嘛长寿生不对，什么帮当个的钱呢？这个没没说啥用，他把钱一个我的，我第四样都到这个意思。
The reason why I explained a little bit more of this point is that because we have been discussing what's called the power of steadfastness or firmness, right? And strictly speaking, this is really from practice point of view, is we start off with whatever our practice, right, until we complete it, gain realization, right? Don't move to the next one. There is a likelihood of misunderstanding this, right? Then somebody says, okay, then maybe I should not think about anything else at all, right? This is where I am, and this is what I'm going to focus on, right? And so then we must again miss the whole point that we could still reflect on the complete structure of the path. This is where your practice is, right? You need to go, but it does not mean that don't think beyond this, right? You can still think ahead of the time, where is this going to lead me, right? What follows, right? That's also important, okay? And so I don't want you to have a wrong understanding as if like I should do this and nothing but this and this, right? Nothing here, no. Okay, not that, okay? You can still have this, vision.
我这特别用讲可是同步教导呢，怎么样呢？没怎么下，没怎么办呢？教人家怎么多吧没效果是，现在可是没效果是对了，但这是我在这当个我都提醒的这是我了，但咱们这些人都这样，看工作人把这看这些人呢。그게 다 신경라면 들어서 시기는 그는 다 들어가 인지해서는 어디를 쇼기단 제가 쇼야요 말와 거의 다들 지지 소소도 같이 가도 새벽에도 나 이주점 인게 봐지 인지 왜니고 말와 어때만이나 다 문제세야 들고 말와 다들 그래서 배셔도 예바시 이니 팅게 제시를 가는 직장으로 다 내가 힘들어서 내는 배도요 말아 또바지도 소수 줄죠. 소수 로도게 저거 이제 소수 인지 말아 나는 곱시 캐는 패도야 말아. 어쨌든 딜 옆에도 다배 타바토 그래서 타바토야 여기를 요래 말해서 너무 됐다가 저 말아. 다 됐어. 타바토 토그래서 다 자와도 당지들 에네 튜르마 드시 에네 당지 말이 봐 튜어지 버시엔 코메바스 니모 가가 메바스 아요라. 디레지기 리바탕네 다 타바도 요사리 티어서 다 에지 점수량도 다 다시 지겨고 봐. 다 세면 못 오나.
So we're on top of page 197, where we have stanzas quoted from Bodhisattva Mahasattva Shantideva's engaging in Bodhisattva deeds. So which says that in the beginning, we should examine whether we would like to undertake this endeavor or not. Okay, and do I have the ability to do this? And is this what I should be doing? So once we decide with it, then we should follow the endeavor and complete it. Don't have the habit of changing our heart. So Geshe says that so this can apply to anything, like in terms of our meditational practice, right? It is a structure, right? What needs to be practiced first, and then the next, everything is right. It's just in sequence. So as we learn about that, it is very important for us to use our critical thinking to investigate whether the teaching you receive or you listen to from somebody else, whether that is, makes sense or not valid, Don't take the teaching for granted, because this Lama says that, or my Guru said that, he said that. But that's like what we call following the blind faith, You just kind of say, somebody said it, so I just believe it, because that's not going to work in terms of gaining realizations, because we have to apply our critical thinking. Whether we will have the realization or what we call the inner transformation, that takes a while. But at least we need to apply our critical thinking to whatever the teacher said. This is what the teacher said, What is it? For example, the given example Geshe is that, okay, there is such thing as nirvana, right? Liberation from samsara. Yeah. So does it exist or not? What is the possibility of achieving nirvana? And the path that leads to that. So as a part of that explanation, what we say that deep down inside us there is this basic fundamental grasping at self, which is the fundamental ignorance, isn't it? And this is the root of samsara. All other afflictive emotions arise from that. So we have to really think about that. Why is this fundamental, delusion, afflictive emotion, and how all these other emotions are, given rise by it, And what's the possibility of getting rid of this ignorance? What is the antidote? Does this antidote make sense or not? So we really have to critically think, at least convince ourselves that all of these things seems to make sense, right? And so then we put it into practice, right? So because after all, the realization has to come from within, right? Because your teachers have a realization doesn't mean that you are going to be realized. There's no guarantee to that. Or somebody's realization is not your realization, okay? That's his or her, So for any of us to have realization, we have to do the work from inside, apply the critical thinking, make sure that, we develop conviction in the teaching, and then apply it and cultivate that, insight.
This is the Karsa. Nanzu Karsa. Kalam Sudra Zinji, that Palikil Yungashi, Nanzu, and Puel Gil, Jura Marsa.
No, sir.
Today, Shu producing his present Dusidua.
No, sir.
Or Tina, and what did that Namjing on the 60 days, I did it till that years and sure cut it should teens in the Sagamo Lotonda was my Shuju race, took each and do Maris.
No, sir.
Lama did it in the yours and each Shujo Maris.
No, sir.
What a Dutama did it by the Namsling, the Molu did a desert of the years and a paint of Maris.
No, sir.
Yinching Muju so repeat shaky, or the Ingeva good is, or didn't do so.
No, sir. So Geshe recalls in our conversation, somebody told him that there was a sutra in Pali, never translated into Tibetan, about 6-7 pages, So what is stated in that Pali sutra is this, that, we should not follow, this path or the teaching because it's a tradition of centuries years old, right? Who cares? It's 1,000-year old, right? That's not a good reason because this is necessarily valid, We should not follow it because people say, well, this has a lot of lineage masters lined up, so, that doesn't matter much, And also, what is it? So the most, and also we can say, there's a lot of people who practice this, Well, that is another issue, not that relevant. What is important is you apply your critical thinking and see the validity and authenticity of this path and the teaching. And if you are convinced it, then cultivate it. That's what's going to make the difference, right, for your realization. Not because it is centuries year old, because there's a lineage masters lined up behind this, or there are too many other people practicing it, Those things are, not that's going to make the difference, right, in your realization.
Oh, dear, that Joachim, the commission. That is here the Jewish kid those Namatel Pig, New Order Mountain, they shot and she does say that. And the Karsa Nama Jewish in the Tail Commission. And the data doing page your day, he prepared the hand and do 2 years, many there on Roman use or do Sierra in this is what Kajeta and Jewish in the Tail Com going in the Dival doing page in the Karsa, the Onion Shadows. Yes, so later of Sign, it would give it children, membership or she do rest. Maybe and Roman, you see, I did it. The Tondo, Luga, Madikazin, Drumna, then you would take out of the Tamboya Bujina, and you such a model's motto, the regiment you do, Madisivara, but the young Shivara, Shana.
So the point we're trying to make here is take your time in the beginning, decide whether this is the right thing to do, or you have the ability to do it or not, and then stick to it. Right? Don't get into the habit of starting it and then dropping it and going on to something else. Because that habit becomes very detrimental in the sense that, even if it's something positive you're doing, your positivity will have a weaker effect or less effect, because it's incomplete and it is, disruptive there. And also that it will have a lot of implications for your future lives, right? You get the habit into abandoning and dropping practice here and there. And so that in that way, you will never succeed in accomplishing your goals, right? Because if you want to finish a practice, that's a goal, right? And you will never succeed in that. So we should not get into the habit of doing that.
yes, then Tamza touch on Davis, and I used to go much at the later new late you move. Nubate, Sumota, and Najesha shares or sit. Tell Lay, Najini, here, Sulayan Rang, Lum Drubi Troy, Teva Mejawa, Rankon Drub de, Danisi show Shedan, then Legend Najini Chedan, Hidden Leja, Tava Dollar Island, Delany, Shenji Troji, Majiki, Shevataro, then Shena, Mirawa, Daja Chibu Drobo, Nyambala, Najeshawa. Ngaje draw ye teta baos o tiri gaje gade ngaje taiwa du zang ta ke twinje de da chue nyan ya de wa ji cho sang ba zong se ya de ji de lu ya de yo de ma de ji ngo ne ra sang ge su ji li ya ene de ba ba da thao ja ta ya de so ji go shi ge me ro shi ne nyam do ri xia yo ma ba xie de ji xie de so ji go xie go re de che xie de le ya ti si go re si ka sa le ji nga ji wa Legend, Najes, and the Nimura. Tadikor so board with James, the Najes Ravachata in the Najes Tat.
So in the middle of page 197, where it's mentioned about three types of pride, but pride is usually a label for what are called the deluded pride per se, right? We're not talking about that kind of afflicted pride, but we're talking about pride in terms of confidence, right? That we need to cultivate it. Because pride and confidence in some way, it kind of have some sort of same feeling somewhere, you know? So from that point of view, it's simply called pride. So the first pride is pride in terms of what are called action. It's action-oriented pride, confidence, in other words, you know? So what really this means is that we have to understand our individual and personal responsibility in terms of the action that needs to be undertaken, right? It just depends on us as individuals, not on anybody else. And as Arya Nagarjuna states very clearly in Letter to a Friend, Shurulika, or Sharing in Tibetan, that your liberation does not depend on others. It just depends on you, period. Okay? So that's what we have to understand. That, of course, for us to be able to study Dharma, favorable conditions are necessary. We need qualified teacher, we need authentic teaching, we need a spiritual friend, supportive environment, all of it. But all of these are still favorable conditions, right? They are not going to, do the things for you. Right? We have to practice ourselves. Because when we think in terms of finding our liberation or whatever our goals are, it has to happen inside us, right? We ourselves need to get rid of the negativities and defilements. We ourselves need to cultivate the qualities and realizations, right? Nobody else can do that for us, substitute. Yeah? And so it's a personal responsibility, right? So it depends upon our own personal confidence that I can do it, right? And it is not upon somebody else to do my practice. It's my practice, and I need to do that, and we need to cultivate that kind of a pride or confidence.
Then here Miravada, Jabala, Jabos, that Nivanga Rowan you move on the cherry. Round drove in the shield of Tajima, dark in the round, you don't drove a new soul, Yamne, Drobati, you move Omi, Jidende, Rondo Druba Menibe, Drew that are menu there, dog dish house. That did a project. That seems to also because that the soldiers some Geshe in the Simja also drove to Maria Sena. In the Simja page, they drove to Oman, Tanda so the child of it. That so the new gate is Sinja March at the menu, but that spec and the delivery. That's the only things on Karsa. Mute Tungu Jaji yours ago.
No.
Tina, that church is a visit to Muji Marva. That did not show on it unless you get the vision. Hirajumuta, Bomda, Tawadu, Tunjuna de Marva. Oh dear, the cutter said, Kota Kayan church and getting along the Geshe Yomari. In the Kayan died Geshe to last name Yomar, Tanga China, Chitas and Ganga be Nimu to Ganga Yunging, Shedare, Ravati, Shena, so the Tedon Shena. In the 10 year Gangashin, she read there, Tangamo Kanche, Jagadu, the poor Sanjama would do out to Nagi, standing on the what you get about the Domoto, Chavachi, Nizukarava. She said, they are so young, is a terrace, Manjo Haji, Manjo Bangashi, was as your mother, Timarwa. 所以讲的是啊，有这月呢，因心结过来是吧？有这面那个是。还是研究个啥？今天的其实忙着在处理下去，听着，听着，把我说的，我那阵是这位呢，把你说说他有条件设计建的，我那阵子让那下马去那条件是设的建出来给你不要了，我听说过的。
So next is the pride about ability that we are really capable of doing and the potentiality we have, right, to be able to accomplish spiritual goals. And of course, we have to be realistic with that, right? We are not just kind of, how should I say, engaged in some kind of speculative thing, like, yes, I can, kind of thing. Not kind of a propaganda sort of, speculation here. As Geshe explained, that when we look at the favorable conditions that we have, right, how fortunate we are indeed to have fully endowed human precious life, right? Very rare to find, yet greatly meaningful. We can accomplish a lot of things. And of course, we are realistic that even among human beings, what's the number? 7 billion, right? We are all equally, how should I say, afflicted in some sense, And then among them, how many have the kind of favorable conditions that we have, right? Out of 7 billions, maybe let's say 1 billion believe in some kind of a religion or spirituality, and 6 billions probably don't care about. Now, within those who believe, how many are really serious about their practice, or it's just kind of like, okay, I'm this, I'm that, So when we look down on that, really the numbers get fewer and fewer, right? And so when thinking that way, we can appreciate our own fortunes and the favorable conditions that if I put our mind to it, we can cultivate bodhicitta or the bodhisattva's attitude for all sentient beings. We are capable of doing that. We have the favorable conditions met. We think in terms of the great realized masters of, let's say, Tibet and India and other countries. They did it. They were exactly like us, same human being with the same delusion, same ability, and they put their mind to that and they did it, and we have the same favorable conditions. So based upon that realistic assessment and being pragmatic about it, serious about it, that we have the ability to do that. That's how we cultivate the pride or the confidence of ability to do our practice. So we will stop there today. We'll mark it because Song Rinpoche will be here, and we'll pick this up after a while. So make sure, if I lose my paper, it's volume number 2, page 197. We'll stop here. And so now we'll request our venerable monks to recite the 16 Arahat prayer for Geshe-la's long life and our other gurus, and His Holiness' long life, and any other prayers they decide to do.
Tuje zwe dige deja na na de la la go de do ye je wa sha da ne de je kho da je wa ne de je zo so kho je ja wa se je dang je da she ra men ba ni mo so ge nang zhe se no xie de ge de xiu ji nian de ge de xiu yu zhe xie ge ne zo xian zhen nang zhe ya dong je xie 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 Gombo Shaja Singhe Ye Sanje Temba Gangi Sura Rinje Zhongje Khaje Ba Shejong Zhajong Shebo Shouzo Ze Tamje Pewe Le De She Zhoye Tongje Sheje Shezo So Tuwe Hagu Tembe Gyeltsen Je Yanlan Zhongdang Mabe Nana Tiden Doje Mabu Songbo Da Sebe Bara Dangsa Se pa wa pa gu la dang zha xin zen lam ten pa ra da sa sun nyung le lam de lu de be che mi fa dang je wa nen de xie so so pa da yi xie pen zuo sang jie jiang du jie wang ge nian de zhen che ba jie jie che le che zhang ne den zhu zhu de zhong den la de xie ka lu zhe zhe den ba让多多年活跃脑子的行动论的那点注重，看见多些往别人的日子给你讲说的，工作总结象征是说这所老人间领导。这个东西是有些说重点点点想把的，大家说那给我的，其实是我那也那，这些重点就说，让别这些这些你老小我，老妈这些大我都是线下的。电报接话解决了，我估计现电报，他们这电报当报我说了用的就是，这些写了下载了，特别给我写写了，特别对上这我中，因为你说的。现在等等小酒我新酒写了下载了，正那这也解决了，正那这也那样的，那我到了。现在他妈印度的，我这了，我接我亲戚了，我都我也都估计你说当这种子吧，学习好了工作，小小现在的了，他妈接我亲戚了，你把过来拿着去，有的。学习电报部，学习规矩年学部，他们这天拉下载路，电报给我学习。刚给接到举报的，就是一年帮助吧，电信这我总送的，通话的拉上上子，除了给我学习了，所谓的。大约没某些世界东西这边我学习上年跟中子，上当年下这下子，拉面国这电报的电报给我学习了，抗日新不的是了，88年的也了。大雄当当孙结果，别我我要这下子，拉面国这电报的电报给我学习了，长松日夜为些呢，88年的要问吧，长松要他这个，常年养下这下子，拉面国这电报的电报给我学习。我对面日不那88年的那年，长松当一夜我学习个样子下子，拉面国这电报的电报给我学习了，我那个3年那88年的对的。长松当学习过，学习那个这下子，拉面国这电报的电报给我学习了。新高老爷领导年点都是没有，长松这个我得说那样子下子，拉面国这电报的电报给我学习。我要么那年那88年的38年，长松当你结果学习养下这下子，拉面国这电报的电报给我学习。年少他妈开始那88年的18步，长松新部我结果人生下班这下子，拉面国这电报的电报给我学习了，农业帮忙这。那巴拉达萨世界呢，长松全部对结果，相信养下这下子，拉面国这电报的电报给我学习了，上给咱们年那年88年的跑过了，长松当对结果。
常年牛力金家子，拉面国子电报。
电话接话谢谢。
真阳归业连当年，花花年年常见的，常中当当喜结果，世界老兄真家子，拉面国子电报当，电报接话谢谢了。常规公布给我了，花花年年老年当，常中当当主结果，常年娘家子家，拉面国子电报当，电报接话谢谢。小姐日花天当年，包装上上水手，常中总扎几个光，电报龙色金家子，拉面国子电报当，电报接话谢谢。当年就咋说呢？爸爸那天冷天呢，家中当着地铁不晓，我说学姐在家，拉面国子电报当，电报接话新疆。日叫我模样了，爸爸那天落叶的，家中当当你家，公爸看谁在家子，拉面国子电报当，电报接话谢谢了。日叫我迷糊了，爸爸那天别些的，家中当当你家，我常年电报在家子，拉面国子电报当，电报接话谢谢。行情里也叫我了，爸爸你的没写吧？常中东扎这个，常州有的在家子，拉面国子电报当，电报接话谢谢。给你大妈打了你，日本对着来问过，那么他也对那些，我也不把真家子，拉面国子电报当，电报接话谢谢了。如果从他八戒不见面上当nam的少，让空的过些说Geshe写了啥子了，拉面国子电报。电报接话新结了，小家如果他结了，新的过节上年，日的半夜能够多少的这边啥子了，拉面国子电报当，电报接话新结。学姐的那的说些话没有生给我，大约把了的他当结了，绿的我也当了家业。上坡去了的路到大给，要我他这一件我送到，新个的年绿了的话也，要我过了让的啥子了，对些的那对年上节那上节三节我那修吧。这大学也那么了哇，他们要我他也好哇。这大我没事叫做那杨家养老叫做这个叫我过节用的让大姐，这大些吧他们大个都没到当把吃完当把当，3年当当修把都修。妈咪说到都别当把爷，要我得到那年小把给，那啥当把那当去做当，什么不嘛日让娘把当，各位切不让把别修给，要我得到那年小把给，小把看那那面家些我得到要我当去那样。上不就了，特别到大爷，叫我过来上这去吧。留下些当电幕往给你，留到我当地些一节家，你把大爷一把几些吧，得到当街大爷说是，悄悄叫我滚到上街去，让街能当老大没了。若我过节说了看了呀，得到过节就说到路街，我出去几天这么大，抢救人把上街马上年，公婆得到大给当街了，可乐了那没话过话给，娘面大都看见的。若我过了别些的别些，给我心给对你说吧。大爷天幕让将是我接，上次我的学姐下我的，接受一让贵姓说我，给我就是大爷介绍我，堂姐早别上就前不。 家中八别宗诸月等多等八种子阿kun so sung ye ne de ju ro ge等八一人等八心经多劫当ye ne de ju ro ge或作谁作列ge一梦切当诸东西界中当ye等八一人ne为这个先见坤界水就照中八离道相天即为今年怕被放杀人波劫难ye等八一人呢八心经大仙给别早晚的的偏的中年等八杯酒东面贵州马六二八年西边家族牛的根本就上龙家族用手做姐姐一些家族然后到就的有些家族马六中中年今天下来结帮把我所以他是自说叫我也天来着些那些那样没给我娘别的上面子娘别老妈小给这些说就说叫我就是多些到年的真正是把心思但把教养这些同志们也得先把那些这些说你们的来三的来你们好样的来你这道的的别分这这别这些
His Holiness Long Life Prayer.
反对这样差别绝对把这些给来混说一些诺我觉这些拉面扫浪了大家都说差别存在刚才我不对这家作业过些没些给家让的是这个那些着把心结了只有不是讲到娘着别对这些一些就没这场面等到这边因工作下面一到了做到这了大家都有着别说的了刚才我不对这些我这边也给家让的这些多了也着把心结
帮到
有的做起来也能往着个家子大子骗子都是嘛我来也了让家的说要我大家都说让别说的那个见广播的些样我这边也给家让的这些多了也着把心结今天说了把给我这些说到些话能想能表的上面没有故上给别天上上的大家都有这个说的了发现广播的这家作业我这没些给家让的这些的了也说话些也落随便这个就来些吧别多我上这边一些难道都是从来没学过人着旁边跟着当家大家都有这个说的看见广播的这家作业我这没些给家让的这些的人应着我亲家了看这些到没有的这说娘家这位子那说老上住了车子那说把我看着操囊了大家都说这个说的了看见广播的人要作业我这边也给家让的这些的人也说我心结了多谢上月高大下见的们这日本特的眼光电到这些教育这些一些简单的说叫做了大家都说这个说的那环境广播电视叫做各些没些给家让的这些的人也着爱心结了跌到路面家己上上了手上一年会别是的没事你们说我让那边到说放松这边关键不我路上的这些子就啥说没些名就没那把兄弟用这都是你别给我家族有没大的就让人给我归结这
念头查不了所别老金也，这里公平努力一步接下吧，谢谢人间周游节，天天总得给上能给过，历经年头几多大周也，特地兄弟共同让他为，也是谁些怎么也有。上那边目前老的自己到所也别说说他们高兴这边让你呢，过上学学要做到些，为中世界也别见报道，天天如我没别见报。大别老上大别多多也，没别都会在那有中。不知道的就那个这里就说也报道，路上对面这边啥时间这边没事到就得有一些。也是这些香港人就说，因为现在投资的。路上也为的我也就是我这我不到给讲啊，他们这是那人多羡慕，谁些也为我这的没得，路上也为的我也就。这上面一把被这特别真的是个什么？秋冬那些龙的点别的，路上也为的我也就很多能到大些他的，广播能到节目门把上，节目能到也为感谢着，路上也为的我也就。忙着的话，加些资源给他的谢谢越来越远。国家电子通通外面上，路上也为的我也就。常年送上马路给面多，上这个年龄当保是，年娃年为你去打打岗，路上也为的我也就。龙头今年送节千年当，东北电报老说娘们，开心这边南边没得说，路上也为电报也就节节路送节举办谢谢，难得人年年着叮当的，东马上上也没着手脚，路上也为电报也就。因为台湾现在东北年这边他也这边的讲，娘子去过也这年不去，路上也为的嘛也就结果送节浪节送面说，人生广大能是理性说，听说当前要做多多叫，路上也为的嘛也就是到那半天了没过节的，开始电视上面上电北京到我当就我一天把一人那边这就。江边养老小子罗，刚给罗着这年，你到南到老子为，去年到我谢谢这些，年年到我来我这看到这边这让忙着没多，冬天节这人就说过了，不知道这养老出去养点说，住的去住一模一路，理解着说这些。我这没事，新年正在认真能天天大街上去到这一条路上也是都别过，就这就到今年，大路没事上北养老。
Omara Bazana de Zende Kege Kera Veze Ye Dalu Demo Memba
Razene
Kada Tenjo Shunlo Tomba Ye
Lojo Bovena
Zendo Zo Lojo Yasu Yu Zhong Beka Je Kesan Fumbe Judo Memba
电棒在老黄道继续别常年小棍小老说
Page 21. Obeisance to my Guru and protector Manjushri, who holds at his heart a scriptural text, symbolic of his seeing all things as they are, whose intelligence shines forth as the sun, unclouded by delusions or traces of ignorance, who teaches in 60 ways with the loving compassion of Father for his only Son, all creatures caught in the prison of samsara, confused in the darkness of their ignorance, overwhelmed by their suffering. You whose dragon thunder-like proclamation of Dharma arouses us from the stupor of our delusion and free us from the iron chains of our karma, who wields the sword of wisdom, hewing down suffering wherever sprouts appear, clearing away the darkness of ignorance. You who have been pure from the beginning, who have completed the stages achieving the highest perfection of a bodhisattva, whose princely body is adorned with 112 marks of a Buddha, I bow down to you, Manjushri, O Malabaza Na Di. O compassionate one, with the brilliance of your wisdom, illuminate the darkness enclosing my mind, enlighten my intelligence and wisdom, so that I may gain insight into Buddha's words and the texts that explain them. 31. Like the sweet perfume of white lotus, born in the ocean of knowledge, nourishing honeybees, the fortunate being, your fame pervades all directions. You are proficient and powerful in upholding the precious doctrine. To you, O Lord Sang Tenzing Wangda, respectfully I pray.